It's the Bernard Clifton Show with me, Jimmy Carroll, on BBC Radio Sheffield. My next guest this afternoon has done it all. He's broken every code, or so the song goes anyway. He's the man who had that fantastic hit in the 70s with Cockney Rebel. He is live in this. Steve Holly. How are you, Steve?
Hi, Jimmy, I'm good, thanks, matey.
Oh, that song, I mean, is always voted in sort of the top 10 of all time.
Yeah, it owes me nothing. I know, I was listening to it then thinking how great the background singing there, that lovely chorus was.
There's some good stuff in that every time you listen to it. If you put any radio show on anywhere, it always seems to be in there. You know, so it must be lovely to have your name with the song as good as that.
Yeah, I wish I had 10 of them. Yeah, no, it's not just the song, it's the record. You know, Alan Parsons was my co-producer. And he was the engineer. Yeah. And when I hear it, like listening to it just then with you, I'm thinking, it's how good it sounds. And that's Alan. He'd worked with the Beatles. He was on Dark Side of the Moon as an engineer for Pink Floyd, and he knew a thing or two.
He's written some nice stuff.
He knew how to make it sound good, you know.
Steve, tell us about the new DVD, first of all.
Isle of Wight Festival, last year. I mean, I've never released a DVD before, and you know, you wait your time and it comes to you. Eventually the door opens and something happens, and we played the Isle of Wight Festival last summer, and it was filmed. The promoter, John Giddings, had a big film company come in to film it for television, and they need your permission to put a track on telly, so they sent me a mix of Make Me Smile, which was at the end of my 50-minute set, for permission to use it. You know, they had to run it by me, and it was brilliant. It looked beautiful. To be honest, it looked good enough to eat. It was shot with 10 cameras in the sunshine, 40,000 people. So it looked wonderful, this editing, and I said, yeah, go for it. And then I said to them, well, hang on, you've got 50 minutes of me doing this with my band. And we went and negotiated, and I bought the rights to it. So that's the essence of the DVD, is the live performance there, but then we shot a documentary on tour, because, you know, 50 minutes ain't money's worth, is it? It's not your money's worth.
So you get the documentary of the tour, and you get the Isle of Wight 50 minutes. Yeah,
the second half is a 50-minute documentary of the get-in with the trucks and the setup and the sound check and some interviews,
which is nice, because most people don't see all that, do they? They just see you come out on stage.
Completely. I'm bored by it. It's what we do. Yeah. But I heard from people in the industry that the public loves all this. And so we did it, and it turned out really nice, and I've given away an awful lot in there that I usually keep to myself.
Look, what do you still get from live performing after all these years?
Oh, everything, man. Oh, man. We're coming to Sheffield City Hall later in October. Yeah. You can think about it. It's one of the most... Is it just been refurbished, hasn't it?
It's not quite finished yet. It's on its way. They're spending an absolute arm and a leg on it,
Well, I played the back of it, the Memorial Hall, last year with my acoustic show. Yeah. And I walked through into the big one where I sold it out loads of times in the 70s, and I was looking at it thinking, look at this beautiful, beautiful place. And, what do I get from it? I see cities, I see galleries and museums, I see nice hotels. I live well and tour well. I like touring. I like playing. What do I get? Jimmy, I walk on stage to all these people, and I get feedback, you know. The spotlight hits you, you play and sing. I mean, what a way to earn a living.
It's nice, isn't it, when you know that they're there to see and listen to you.
Yeah, totally. It's a privileged life, after all these years, mate, to have an audience.
Do you still enjoy the actual touring part of it? And when I talk to most musicians and singers, they say, well, I don't like the travelling, but I love the gig.
Now, they all say I hear it, but as I said, I do. I tour well. What you got to do is check into that hotel, which we normally do around 2 p.m., 1 or 2, from city to city. And then some of them sit around all afternoon. They got nothing to do, no outside interests, no hobbies. And they hear from the wife, and she might be grumpy because she hasn't seen him for 3 weeks and there's bills to pay. Or, I don't know, the kids are playing up, and they get they get grief from home. So they get depressed. Me, I leave my family secure. You've got to leave them secure and happy, and see the cities. I get we get straight in a cab, go to the museums and go to the city centre for a snack or stroll about, get some fresh air, and I want to see these places. So I tour well. I enjoy it because basically because I have a lot of interests. I'm really interested in social history.
Yeah.
Then that becomes architecture, you know.
You'll love it in Sheffield with the peace gardens we've got now and the winter gardens. There's always something to look at, something new. You'll really love the city itself. They're doing a real good job in it. So is that how you keep it fresh? Go out and see the city that you're going to play?
Yeah, and we stay in good places. You know, obviously, I mean, it's a great life, and they stay in good hotels. They're well looked after. Anyone who gets really depressed on tour, it's really their own fault, to be honest. They've got to learn how to handle it. And I've got people around me now that all feel like I'm saying. They've got hobbies, they've got things they pass the time with, you know.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Well, you spent a lot of people who don't know Steve Harley's early informative years, even before you started doing the folky scenes when you were children. You spent a lot of time in hospital, Steve. Is that where the roots of music started to filter through and think what you wanted to do with your life?
Well, no, really it was words. When I was a kid, and I spent over 3 years in hospital between the age of 3 and 15. And it was reading. I was reading and writing because it's very lonely in a hospital. Even I was in a children's hospital, and there were about 12 of us each time I was there in this bungalow sort of ward, and there was lots of fun and lots of laughter, although some of them were very, very sick, much sicker than I ever was. Some of them never left the place, but we had a lot of laughter, and there was a lot of music because we had transistor radios, of course.
Trannies,
well, by the time I was 12, it was 1963, and the Beatles were on the radio. I Want to Hold Your Hand, and the Stones, and Motown. So I grew up with it all. I mean, music, along with all forms of art. I just love art, artists, creative people. But I've only ever met one person in my whole life, Jimmy, who said she doesn't like music. And do you know who that was?
No.
It was a tax collector.
Well, okay.
A tax inspector.
How could I...
Honest, she was with my accountant. You know when they do these inspections?
Yeah.
And we talked about music, and she said, no, I don't like music. I said, surely you listen to something when you're... No, I never listen to music. What, classical music or Jimmy Young or something? No, don't like music at all. Oh, for God's sake!
I don't know how anybody could go through life.
How can you not like music?
I mean, you know, it's not. Surely you must whistle or something.
Yeah, no, she said that was it. She was a tax inspector.
But even in hospital, you met the Stones in hospital.
Yeah, oh, that's right, the Stones. How do you know that? The Stones came to see us.
I did my homework, mate.
Yeah, in 1963, I'd been in there. I went in at the end of January. I had surgery, and in those days, after invasive surgery, you needed months of physiotherapy. They didn't send you home to get better like they do now. Months of it. You know, I was very young, bones were still growing, and at the end of 63, so I'm 12 pushing 13, and I was out before Christmas. But in the middle of December, this beaten-up old blue van pulled up outside our hospital ward. We did see it, and these 5 or 6, you know what they looked like then, you know, fur coats, long hair, and I don't know, it's a fantastic sight. I'm 12, and this is the Rolling Stones, and they were on one of those goodwill, let's cheer the kids up visits. But what they did was, came in to see us, but 3 or 4 of them went straight down the end of the ward, and at the end of the ward it was Victorian. There was a big fireplace with a mantelpiece, and above the mantelpiece was a poster of the Beatles. Yeah, and they went up, and the Jagger and Richards were there just tearing this thing apart, you know. I had a nice chat with Charlie Watts, I do remember that. I tried to remind him of it 20 years later, and he didn't have a clue. He just didn't remember it at all.
So that's your Beatles early influences, and you've worked with people like Julie Felix early days.
It's all well, I wasn't a folk singer, but I came out of the folk clubs. It's where I went to hone my songs and fine tune it all, and that you could sing for free, and you'd get 10-15 minutes, and I used to go in and sing my early songs in the folk clubs before people like Julie Felix and Ralph McTell. You know, these kind of guys were the big stars. John Martin, I sang before John Martin in a folk club for free. It was called Floor Spotting. It's where you learnt your trade.
Just got up and did it, yeah?
Yeah, for free. Get up, sang a couple of new songs. They were used to folk music, and I got up and sang Sebastian. So
you took a bit of time out in the 80s because your children were growing up and that, and then you trod the boards. You actually played Christopher Marlowe in Marlowe, didn't you?
Yeah. I played Marlowe for a few weeks in off Broadway, and then came back and did it in London. That was the only time I've really trod the legitimate boards.
Do you fancy going back and doing any more?
Not a lot, no. To be honest, I'm a touring, wandering minstrel, you know.
Yeah.
I like moving about. The thing with theatre, it's 6 days a week, 8 shows, all in the same dressing room for 6 months or whatever. I'm not sure it's for me.
What about your kids? What do they feel about you touring again?
Yeah, they've grown up with it. I mean, I started touring in '89 after taking most of the '80s off, as you rightly said. And I haven't stopped since, to be honest. I play 80 to 100 shows every year since about '89. They're used to it. What do they care? You know, they're both at university, and you know, what the heck?
Just keep tipping the money up, Dad.
Yeah, paying those bills. It's an expensive life, that university stuff.
Yeah, I know. I've
keep working.
But you've had some. I mean, everybody remembers Make Me Smile, but I mean, I love Make Me Smile. One of my all-time hits. But I like Mr. Soft as well, and we've got actually on. Somebody got in contact with us here, and it's Paul from Dronfield, and he's just called in. He said, "Steve, you're the man, and A Friend for Life is one of the best songs ever written. Could you please perform What Becomes of the Broken Hearted on your forthcoming tour in October?" He said he'll be there.
I don't think so, mate.
No,
we'll play A Friend for Life. Yeah. I'm very fond of it myself. I know what he means. It does touch a nerve, but no, he's right. We did a cover, a really interesting cover, I'd like to think, of What Becomes of the Broken Hearted on the Poetic Justice album in '96, '97. Yeah. I've never done it on stage, and I don't think so, matey. No. I don't know. I've got a new album. When we tour in the autumn, it's with the new album, The Quality of Mercy, and I'll have to do 5 or 6 from that.
You've had some great albums out. The Human Menagerie.
The early ones.
Yeah, Love's a Prima Donna. Hobo with a Grin. Great names. You know. So the new album is called.
Well, the next studio album will come out in September, called The Quality of Mercy. That's the one we're touring with, yeah. But I'm playing Glastonbury again, and about 15 festivals throughout the year, throughout the summer.
And of course, you've still got the BBC Radio 2, The Sounds of the 70s.
Oh, I like that. I like doing it. Yeah. It's been about 6 years now.
Yeah.
I like it because it's very funny. Someone came up to me coming out of the Beeb in London a week ago when I was recording. We record my Sounds of the 70s because I'm away so much. Yeah. I simply can't promise to be live on air at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. I'm always away. So we record them in advance, and I came out, and a guy was talking to me outside the Beeb last week, and he just thought I was a complete expert. He started to talk facts to me about this one and that one and that one, and I'm glazed over. And he said, "But you know all this," and I might sound like I know it. What I do is I take it all from in my rock encyclopedias and books and things. So it's like cramming for an exam. I write the show at home, and and then record it for half an hour. Yeah. And for half an hour, I'm an expert.
It's brilliant radio, isn't it?
Yeah, but 3 days later, I'm an idiot. I don't remember any of it.
It's great. Thanks for being our main guest today, Steve. You've got the tour coming up. We're going to the Buxton Opera House and the Sheffield City Hall in October. We've got the DVD out on Saturday, the 21st of May. We wish you the best of luck with
Jimmy, good talking to you, mate.
Thanks for talking to us today on BBC Radio Sheffield. Steve Harley. Cheers, babe. There you go. What a man.